apologies. This is the shy one, right? Yeah? Okay. We met yesterday. He was hiding behind a pillow. I peeked behind the pillow to see if I was looking, and then... Nice boy. Bhadra Purnima. Does that ring any bells for some of you here? Bhadra Purnima. The appearance day of Lord Balaram is one Purnima previous, Sharat Purnima. And then some days, 8 days after Krishna appears, is the Ashtami. That's when Krishna Janmashtami occurs. And coming up during the waning of the new moon, the waxing from the new moon to the, again, full moon, is Radhastami. I bet you're looking forward to Radhastami. And you know what comes on our Vaishnava calendar after Radhastami? The next Purnima is a major event, at least for those who are lovers of Srimad Bhagavatam, because there's a verse in in the Srimad Bhagavatam that speaks of the glories of this next Purnima, and that's what our topic is tonight. The glories of Srimad Bhagavatam and the glories of this special day, Bhadra Purnima. According to the 12th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 13, the Srimad Bhagavatam is identified, of course, within the text of the Bhagavatam itself, as the Puranam Amala. Pramana means evidence, or the means of knowing something. There's a very fancy English word, epistemology. Means how to know something. And especially if you want to know perfectly, because the senses are imperfect and there's 4 defects of every conditioned soul. But the Srimad Bhagavatam is not from a conditioned soul. Of course, all the Puranas are from a transcendental source. But even amongst the Puranas that are from the transcendental source, if you want to know that which is the cause, the perfect pramana, to know the cause of everything, that's Srimad Bhagavatam. Amala. That is to say, there's 18 principal Puranas. Yes? 18 principal Puranas. And the Puranas, 18 in number, are divided into thirds. 6 plus 6 plus 6. Generally that equals 18. And so there's Puranas that are tinged with ignorance, passion, and goodness. But there's one amongst those 18 that's exceptional, and it has no tinge of the modes of nature. Thus, Amala, Pramana, and that's Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, on this, let's see if we can get this to work. Amongst the other scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam has a particular role. And there's different places within the Puranas that describe its role. Within the Bhagavatam itself, same chapter, this is the final chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 12, chapter 13 of Canto 12. Rajante Tava Anyani Puranani Satam Gane Yavad Bhagavatam Naiva Shruyate Mrita Sagaram. All other religious scriptures remain respected in an assembly of learned people as long as Srimad Bhagavatam, which is filled with nectar, does not enter their assembly. As soon as Srimad Bhagavatam comes to their hands, other spiritual scriptures become faded. It's the brightest amongst the luminaries of scriptures. Here's a statement from Garuda Purana. It's also found in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Hari Bhakti Vilas is a manual written by Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. One might say either one. So the reference is made to this verse from Garuda Purana. The meaning of the Vedanta Sutra is present in Srimad Bhagavatam. Or, the Vedanta Sutra has a commentary. The commentary of Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. The full purport of the Mahabharata is also there. The commentary of Brahma Gayatri is also there. And fully expanded with all Vedic knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. There are 12 cantos, 335 chapters, and 18,000 verses, just in case you weren't sure which Bhagavatam it's referring to. That one. Very exalted. Respected amongst the Puranas themselves. There's a whole, in the Bhadra Purnima is one of the Sattvika. The Garuda Purana is also, and the Bhadra Purnima is also one of the Sattvika Puranas. There's a whole section within Bhadra Purnima called the Bhagavat Mahatmya. Srimad Bhagavatam Mahatmya. Bhagavat Purana Mahatmya. From Matsya Purana, wherein the Supreme Dharma is elaborated upon on the foundation of Gayatri, and where the killing of the Vritrasura demon is mentioned, is known by the name Srimad Bhagavatam. That is to say, the other Puranas do not have this specific mention of the killing of Vritrasura. Bhagavatam alone has this killing of Vritrasura. So, which of the Puranas? This one. One who, on the full moon day, gives away in charity the Srimad Bhagavatam, establishing it on a golden throne, will attain the highest destination. Anybody want it? Highest destination? Pretty simple. Boom, boom, boom. Simple. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of 18,000 verses. This is directly from Srimad Bhagavatam itself. And it's also from Matsya Purana. When I just recited very similar passage from Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, chapter 13, same thing in Matsya Purana, another Sattvika Purana. It's like the Supreme Court. There's other high courts, and the high courts defer to the decision and judgment of the Supreme Court. Here's some statements by our acharyas, starting with Srila Prabhupada, about the position of Srimad Bhagavatam. and then we're going to go back into cyclic succession a bit. Here's something from Srila Prabhupada. It's from Canto 2, Chapter 8, Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam is certainly a very dear scripture for all the devotees of the Lord, but it is auspicious even for the non-devotees also, because it explains that even the non-devotees hovering under the spell of material energy can be delivered from such clutches if they hear the narration of the Srimad Bhagavatam with devotion and attention from the right source, representing the Lord by disciplic succession. Now all of you know, just speak it anyways, although you already know, when Prabhupada came to America, he did so under the order of his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta. Twice, first time we met, the last instruction Prabhupada received before Bhaktisiddhanta left this world, same instruction: go to the West, take the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the English-speaking parts of the world. By doing this, it'll be good for them, and it'll be good for you also. He took it to heart. And years of preparation, part of those years of preparation was preparing first canto Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Two reasons why. One, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. And since the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam are revered as the highest, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are the highest. A equals B, B equals C, A equals C. Very logical. So he was given the service of take the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to the English-speaking parts of the world. He did so in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, because that is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And there's a second very important reason, not as important as that one, but the very important reason is that when Bhaktisiddhanta was attempting previously to send 2 sannyasis to England, it was waiting, it got delayed by several months from the plan, because they were waiting and waiting and waiting for a book that was being written by Professor Sanyal, Nishikant Sanyal, from Kathak University in Orissa, to complete a book that thick on Sri Krishna Chaitanya, because the mission was to give to the people in England the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So rather than taking that book, which was written in very high English, Prabhupada knew his audience were people that didn't know too much about Vedic culture and etc. So he chose to translate Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, which is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, but simplified. And therefore he's saying what he's saying, that even people that aren't from elevated background, it's auspicious for the non-devotees, because if heard from the right source, then one can be lifted to an understanding of the highest truth through the medium of Srimad Bhagavatam. Here's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. There's a title of a publication by the Gaudiya Math, no other book like the Bhagavat. And from that book, here's a statement. Even if all the books of the world were to be burned, there would be no harm, provided one treatise was left, Srimad Bhagavatam. Even if thousands of learning centers, like universities and schools, etc., were to be abolished, there would be no feeling of inconvenience, provided the reading and teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam continued. Very special. It's on a pedestal. As far as Bhaktisiddhanta is concerned, There are no other books in the world like Srimad Bhagavatam. This is not mere tittle-tattle or an exaggerated homage. What's an exaggerated homage? Those of you that have been involved in Vedic studies know there's a term artavad. Arta, vada. Vada means doctrine of. Arta, inflated exaggeration. Sometimes it is said, there are statements in the other Puranas about rituals, and you do this ritual, you get this benefit. You do that ritual, you get some other benefit. And sometimes they're very seemingly inflated benefits. But he's making a point. There's no artavad. We're going to touch on this later. So I'm making the point now. We'll hear it again. There's no exaggeration. No exaggerated homage. If one reflects on it, Srimad Bhagavatam, as a truly impartial judge, one will realize that there has not been, nor will there ever be, a book like the Bhagavatam. Now this is taken from a different text, Sri Chaitanya's teachings. Right? Srila Prabhupada was requested to take the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. He is a strict follower of Bhaktisiddhanta. He obviously had read this. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya are the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now here's a nice photograph of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his final years in Jagannath Puri. This is Bhagavatam and Bhaktivinoda. It's a book not by him, but gathering writings from him on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Very skillful. From Pranava, or Om, came Gayatri. From Gayatri came the Vedas. From the Vedas came the Brahma Sutra. And from the Brahma Sutra came the Srimad Bhagavatam, which has brightly risen like a Sachit Ananda sun. Those who have eyes should see, those who have ears should hear, and those who have minds should meditate on the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a statement that he wrote in Sri Krishna Samhita. And here's a little graphic of Sanatana Goswami. He's a previous Acharya, one of the 6 Goswamis. And probably everybody here knows. Does anybody here not know the 6 Goswamis and Sanatana Goswami as the eldest amongst them, senior most? He was born in a Brahmin family, very highly educated, highly learned, even as a young man. And this story is told about him. When Sanatana Goswami was young, a Brahman appeared to him in a dream and blissfully gave him a Srimad Bhagavatam. When he woke up, he was perplexed. You look perplexed too. Then what happened? Later that morning, the same Brahmana came and gave him the Srimad Bhagavatam, the one that had appeared in his dream. When he obtained the Bhagavatam, Sanatana became ecstatic and merged into the ocean of prema. After this incident took place, Sanatana Goswami began reading Srimad Bhagavatam daily. Later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave personal instructions to Sanatana about the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Based on those instructions, Sanatana compiled Dig Darshanitika, a commentary on Hari Bhakti Vilas, Vaishnava Toshani, and Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Sanatana Goswami is a very important person in our disciplic succession. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally instructed him in detail for months on the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he loved it very much, as many of our ISKCON devotees love the Bhagavatam very much. I count myself as one. Now, this is not our previous acharyas exactly, but there's a detailed description of what I'm going to narrate found in Bhadra Purana, the Bhagavat Pramana section. The Dwarka queens hear the Bhagavatam. After Krishna's appearance from this world, so Krishna left. Before Krishna left, what did he do? He gave an instruction that Arjuna, this is to his chariot driver, Dharaka, Arjuna should escort my queens from Dwarka, because the whole city of Dwarka is going to sink. After Krishna's departure, it disappeared. Arjuna should escort them back to my grandson, where he can be taken care of in Mathura. So Arjuna was escorting the queens, 16,108 queens, to be back in Mathura under the care of Krishna's grandson, Vajranabh. One day, while being tormented by the pain of separation from Krishna, they noticed that one of their co-wives, Kalindi, alone was very happy. So they asked Kalindi, what's the reason? And Kalindi then explained what Uddhava, she learned from Uddhava. So who's Uddhava? You all know who is Uddhava, but I'll remind you anyways. Uddhava is Krishna's cousin. Krishna's father was Vasudeva. Krishna's father had several brothers. One of them was Devabhaga, and Devabhaga had a son named Uddhava. So they're cousins. And Uddhava, along with Arjuna, dearmost was Uddhava, because he was, even more than Arjuna, he was always with Krishna. Always, always, always. And when it was time for Krishna's departure, because he was so intimately connected with Krishna, Uddhava knew, intuitively he knew, he's going to leave. So he pleaded with Krishna, don't go, but take me with you. So Krishna instead gave instructions to Uddhava so that he could always be with Krishna. Uddhava Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11. And then many things happened, but Krishna gave instructions to Uddhava what to do, to details and details. Very nice narration. Uddhava had previously, as you know, when Krishna was in Mathura, he sent Uddhava to Vrindavan. Correct? Yes or no? Krishna sent Uddhava to Vrindavan with a letter from Krishna to the gopis. Celebrated event. When Uddhava experienced the love of the gopis for Krishna, the love of the residents of Vrindavan in general, and especially the love of the gopis, when he experienced that, he prayed that he could become a blade of grass in Vrindavan, so that the gopis, when walking here and there, the dust from their feet could settle on his head, and he would get the dust from the feet, because if he asked them for dust, they would be too embarrassed, they wouldn't want to give him any dust. So let me become a blade of grass. So he became a blade of grass. Uddhava became a blade of grass at a very celebrated place. There's a Uddhava Kund that's along the side of Govardhan Hill. Maybe some of you have been there, because if you go around Govardhan Hill, you're going to pass by Uddhava Kund. And there's an Uddhava Kund in the back. And so what happened was, Kalindi explained what she had learned from Uddhava. And Uddhava, when speaking to the Braja Gopis, he gave a certain message. Here's what the message is. In the company of Maharaj Parikshit and Vajranabh, so Maharaj Parikshit was the king of Hastinapur, correct? And a sub-part of Hastinapur was Mathura. That's where Vajranabha was, the kingdom of Krishna, Mathura. So both Maharaj Parikshit and Vajranabha accompanied the queens to that place, Uddhava Kund, where they knew that Uddhava may have become a blade of grass in Vrindavan. So they went. But how are you going to find Uddhava amongst the blades of grass? It's easy. They had big kirtan. And the kirtan was so ecstatic, the kirtan became tumultuous. Suddenly Uddhava came out of a grove of bushes and creepers. This is in Padma Purana. Finding all of them absorbed in Krishna kirtan, Uddhava offered his respects and embraced Maharaj Parikshit, because he's from a royal family also. Maharaj Parikshit and Uddhava from a royal family, but he's the elder, so he embraced him. This is not only from the Bhagavad Mahatmya section of Padma Purana, but it's also described in the Skanda Purana, same narration in two different Puranas. So Uddhava, after embracing Maharaj Parikshit, says the following. Listen carefully. This is what Kalindi said that she understood from Uddhava. They all understood, because they heard, the queens all heard it. "O king," Uddhava said, "you are most fortunate. You are always in exclusive devotion to Krishna. Among all the inhabitants of Dwarka, these queens are without a doubt most fortunate. Under the influence of Yogamaya, they have forgotten themselves and are suffering from anxiety caused by separation from Krishna. Unless Krishna becomes visible to them, none of them will regain their proper consciousness. But Krishna has wound up his pastimes. That time has finished, and now we have entered a different age, because after Krishna's departure, the previous age changes. It becomes Kali Yuga. Not a good time. However, listen, and I will tell you of another way. This is how to get Krishna's direct association. He can be visible through the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is not from Bhagavatam. This is Padma Purana and Skanda Purana, glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna can be experienced directly by us. Of course, you have to be here from the right source, and you have to be, attentive. Two small conditions, but Krishna can be directly experienced even after his departure. Now, here's a long list just to indicate how important the Srimad Bhagavatam is. How many times the Bhagavatam has been told and retold and told again. Now, we commonly say, Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. We all know that one. Did you know it was spoken many other the same Srimad Bhagavatam, many other times, in different ways, in different forms. According to Skanda Purana, Lord Krishna spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam to Mahavishnu. According to Skanda Purana, Lord Vishnu spoke what he heard to the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. According to Skanda Purana, similarly, Lord Narayana spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Lord Shiva. There's a nice painting. There's Lord Shiva down at the bottom. Hope this works. Yes. Lord Shiva is here, and he's hearing from Lord Narayan the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's 3 times so far. Lord Narayan also expressed the same to Lord Brahma, because he knows the Bhagavatam and he taught it to Lord Brahma. And there's some verses mentioned here. Canto 12, chapter 13, we've already referred to that several times, but also Canto 2, chapter 9. Canto 2, chapter 9. You recognize those verses? I'll give you a hint. Those verses are called the Chatur Shloki verses. Chatur Shloki mean the 4 nutshell verses of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam that are spoken by Lord Narayan to Brahma, right within the Bhagavatam, the essence of the whole Bhagavatam. So here's Narayan to Lord Brahma. O Uddhava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, this is Canto 3, chapter 4. At the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma, who is situated on the lotus that grows out of my navel, about my transcendental glories, which the great sages describe as Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna is confirming that he spoke the same to Brahma. And here's a verse from the 12th canto. It was to Lord Brahma that the Supreme Personality of Godhead first revealed the Srimad Bhagavatam in full. At that time, Brahma, frightened by material existence, was sitting on the lotus flower that had grown from the Lord's navel. Now, because of time and the detail, the Chatur Shloki verses of the Bhagavatam are listed here, starting at 2.9.33, and then 34, and then 35, and then 36. So I'll let you look them up at your leisure, because you all like Srimad Bhagavatam like I do. These are the essential verses of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Brahma, having heard from Narayana, he spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Narada Muni. Disciplic succession, right? It was Shukadeva Goswami spoke it to Maharaj Pariksit, but there were others that heard it before he did. So here's Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 51. O Narada, this science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand this science yourself. Then Narada Muni spoke to Vyasa, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9. This comes after the nutshell verses of the Bhagavatam. Here it is. In succession, O King, the great sage Narada instructed Srimad Bhagavatam unto the unlimitedly powerful Vyasadeva, who meditated in devotional service upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, on the bank of the river Saraswati. It goes on. We'll do some more, but you get the idea. It's not a novel invention by Shukadeva Goswami or Vyasa to Shukadeva. Long history of its singular importance. Here's Vyasadeva compiling Srimad Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva then taught to Shukadeva. We know that one. Vyasadeva taught it to Shukadeva. Here's the verses. Canto 1, Chapter 7. The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Srimad Bhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Shukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization. And then, at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas, from my father, Sri Dvaipayana Vedavyas. So Shukadev is confirming he not only heard it, he studied it diligently, and then, of course, he spoke it to Maharaj Parikshit. Shukadev Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 42. Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn, delivered the Bhagavatam to the great Emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. First Canto, Chapter 3. It's a long history, right? Then what happened? Interesting. Some of you are a little bit familiar with a composition by Sanatana Goswami called Brihat Bhagavatamrita. According to Brihat Bhagavatamrita, after Shukadeva Goswami finished speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, the snakebird had not yet come. And so the mother of Maharaj Parikshit, her name was Uttara, she came running up to her son, saying, I couldn't understand all of that. Could you say it again? And he said to his mother, my dear mother, this isn't the best time for such a question, but because you're my mother, I'll summarize the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And so he did. And that's what Brihad Bhagavatamrita is. Here's a verse in the text of Brihad Bhagavatamrita that says the same. Blessed Uttara said, my dear son, please extract the essence of what Shukadeva has taught you and quickly reveal it to me, as if churning the nectar of immortality from the ocean of milk. So Brihad Bhagavatamrita is a synopsis, retelling of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then in the audience that heard Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit was Sutta Goswami. And then Sutta Goswami narrated Srimad Bhagavatam to the sages in the forest of Naimisharanya, a holy place. O Sutta Goswami, you are a learned and pure devotee of the Lord because the personality Godhead is your chief object of service. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord, which are above all material conception, for we are anxious to receive such messages. So there's the eagerness of the audience and the qualification of the speaker. Now again, in the 12th canto, chapter 4, oh, best of the Kurus, the same Sutta Goswami who is sitting before us will speak this Bhagavatam to the sages assembled in the great sacrifice at Naimisharanya. This he will do when questioned by the members of the assembly headed by Shonaka. Shonaka is a great rishi that was the leader of the sages that we're hearing from Sutta. And then there's this description where the queens are hearing the Bhagavatam's message from Uddhava, right? Here's an example. Lord Shiva is explaining Bhagavatam to Parvati and Shukadeva Goswami. According to Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Lord Sankarshan taught the same Srimad Bhagavatam to the 4 Kumaras. Very important book, very important text. Here's the verse, right from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3. Lord Sankarsana thus spoke the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam to the great sage Sanat Kumar, who had already taken the vows of renunciation. Sanat Kumar also, in his turn, when inquired of by Sankyayana Muni, explained Srimad Bhagavatam as he heard it from Lord Sankarsana. So there's lots of telling and retelling again. In turn, Sankyayana Muni, there he is down here, Sankyayana Muni questioned the 4 Kumaras, please tell us what you heard from Lord Sankarsana. And he told, say, Canto 3, Chapter 8. Sankhya Muni then expressed what he heard to Parashara Muni and Brihaspati. And that's mentioned both in Srimad Bhagavatam and Skanda Purana, as you see here. The great sage Sankhya was the chief amongst the transcendentalists. And when he was describing the glories of the Lord in terms of Srimad Bhagavatam, it so happened that my spiritual master Parashara and Brihaspati both heard him. Now this is a little bit like chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Giyatam Giyatam Karno Kevalastakam Diyatam Diyatam Vachaha. So we're hearing again and again, and what's the merit of hearing again and again? Enough is enough, right? It's never enough because it's purifying. The picture becomes compelling. This literature is so important that the topmost of sages heard it, and then heard it again, and heard it again, and heard it again. Here's, Parashara then explained it to, what's happened here? Brihaspati, yeah. Parashara Muni to Maitreya, again, 3rd canto. Maitreya is a very important person in the 3rd canto. Maitreya became enlightened by Parashara Muni, who was the father of Vyasadeva, who had heard already Srimad Bhagavatam. Here it says, the great sage Parashara, as aforementioned, being so advised by the great sage Pulastya, spoke unto me the foremost of the Puranas, Bhagavatam. I shall also describe this before you, my dear son, in terms of my hearing, because you are always my faithful follower. Here's Maitreya speaking to Vidura, speaking the Bhagavatam's message. So the list can go on, but it's very clear. Bhagavatam is very important. Who one hears it from is essential consideration. We know from Bhagavad Gita, hearing Bhagavad Gita's message in disciplic succession is everything. Not heard in disciplic succession, the knowledge, as wonderful as Bhagavad Gita is, the knowledge is lost. So we need to hear it in disciplic succession, and we need to hear it again and again. That's the nature of transcendental wisdom. So now here's this poster again, the Bhadra Purnima poster. Here's the quote of the verse from Canto 12, Chapter 13, verse 13. If on a full moon day, coming up soon, of the month of Bhadra, one places Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift, he will attain the supreme destination. Now, question. I'm going to spend a little bit of time and then close up. The question is this Artavad question. This is a big promise. Is this an exaggeration? Does it really happen? Does it really happen? You just give it 1, 2, 3. You pick the right day, give the gift of Srimad Bhagavatam, put it on a golden throne, and you get the highest destination. It sounds like mechanical. Is it an exaggeration just to pump people up to gift Srimad Bhagavatam to others? Someone might ask that. Is it exaggerated praise or artavad? What to do? Here's Prabhupada's writing in Nectar Devotion. In these statements, this is glories of the process of devotional service, that section. chapter 13, Nectar Devotion. In these statements about devotional service, sometimes it may appear that the results have been overestimated, or artavad, inflated exaggeration. But actually there is no overestimation. He gives two examples. For example, the four Kumaras, simply by smelling of the incense offered to the Lord at the gates of Vaikuntha, immediately prema awakened in their hearts. Boom. Or another example he gives is Bilvamangala Thakur. Bilvamangala Thakur, simply by hearing Krishna's name, and from Chintamani of all people, encouraging that you had such an attachment to this body, if only you had the same attachment for Krishna, you would achieve perfection. Simply by hearing about Krishna, he gave up his beautiful girlfriend, Prabhupada writes in Nectar Devotion, and started out for Vrindavan, and he was with Krishna in Vrindavan for a long time. So the results aren't inflated exaggeration. Rather, there's no artavad in bhakti-related literatures. Now this is another image of Sanatana Goswami. Over there on the right is a cover of Srimad Bhagavatam, and here's a statement in Sanskrit by Sanatana Goswami about the statements of the Bhagavatam. To presume that these words of Bhakti Shastras are merely estimated praise is certainly unreasonable. That's a statement made in the verse. And then in the purport, he writes, that devotional service is vastly superior to mere liberation, is not an idea which one should dismiss as artavad, or exaggerated praise. That's Bhaktisiddhanta's own Digdarshini commentary on Brihad Bhagavatamrita. There is such a thing as inflated exaggeration in the world, and even within some portions of the Puranas, or some portions of the Vedas, that you do this ritual, you get that nice result, to encourage people. But when it comes to specifically to devotional service and the holy name, there's no exaggeration. Here's a nice example. You recognize who this is, right? I think there's some disciples of Vaisheshika Prabhu, who has been one of the main promoters in North America for sure, and beyond, to encourage book distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam on Bhadra Purnima. I'm standing here in part because of him. That Srimad Bhagavatam is promising the giver of the gift, here's a nice lady giving a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam to someone, a friend, will attain the supreme destination, transcendental destination, is no exaggeration. Such a fortunate giver has begun, or has significantly nourished, their devotional service, which is the path of liberation. So, here's a nice example. Supposing to get here from the home where I'm staying took about 7-8 minutes. And supposing the program is over and I decide, I'd like to walk back. And then someone could say, where did Maharaj go? Oh, he's gone. He went to their home. And I'm just down at the street corner. I didn't get there yet. But someone can rightly say, oh, he's gone back to his home. Although the journey has just begun, I'm on my way. It's easy to understand. This is what I quoted is from Scripture, and here's what Scripture says: the speed at which spiritual results that come from spiritual activities are dependent on two things: the nature and the intensity of the faith of the practitioner. So these little images, the illumination of the projector is poor. My apologies. But it shows someone that's jumping from one place to another place. The subtitle is Leap of Faith. So those that have faith go on the bhakti journey. It requires faith, some adau shraddha. That before sadhu sangha, before the Bhagavatam, there's adau shraddha, some preliminary faith that says there is a higher reality. I want to be connected with that higher reality, please. Here's two scriptural references that say the speed of your progress has much to do with your faith in that progress, bhakti progress. The verse is giving 6 things: deve, demigods, tirthas, mantras, the blessings. Where is it? Oh yeah, this is deity. The blessings of demigods. The following 6 entities, one gets reciprocation according to the degree and variety of one's faith. Variety: deity, holy place, mantra, astrologer, in a doctor, and in one's guru. This is a statement from Scripture related to faith, and the following remark is, you'll notice it comes in Brahma Samhita: Yadrashi bhavana yasya siddhir bhavati tadrashi. Yadrashi tadrashi. When this is in place, that comes. According to faith, then results will come. Here it is in Brahma Samhita: Yadrashi yadrashi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadrashi. Bhaktisiddhanta's translation: one's realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it's all about a mantra, the Gopal mantra, that Gopakumar received from his guru. And he goes through so many experiences, and he ends up in Goloka Vrindavan with Krishna. All the way, he's on that journey. And we're also all on that journey. So our journey begins somewhere, and when you begin the journey, just stay with it. Stay with it. However fast, slow, stay with the journey. Stay with faithfully executing the process of devotional service as enjoined in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and you'll get there. So it's not an exaggeration. Here's a scriptural quote. Maybe you've heard this one from Bhadra Purnima. It says, a person who has once uttered the 2 syllables ha, vi, has rolled up his sleeves and begun the work of his path of liberation. Just once. Go ahead. Ha, vi. You've begun. We say many times that's part of the path. So like this exercise of saying, how many times has the Bhagavatam been spoken by different authorities? Many. Hear it again and hear it again. Diyatam vachaha manaha. We're hearing and hearing and hearing. In other words, one's journey on the path of bhakti has begun. So it's not, all of this is to say, this benediction offered by giving a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam on the Purnima day is not an exaggeration. It's the king of all scriptures, Grantharaj. It invites, we're asking, many of you already have Srimad Bhagavatam in your home. If you already have Srimad Bhagavatam in your home, fantastic. think of someone that doesn't and make a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam to that someone. Invite him to your home, or inspire those who you come across, some friends, some relatives, some acquaintances. Initiate your and others' journey into bhakti. Imbibe the mood of Srila Prabhupada. This is this distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam. And here's a nice painting, Srila Prabhupada disembarking from the Javaduta. Here it is again. You know, when he came, what did he have? And on the cargo ship, there were cases, cartons, wood cartons of his Bhagavatam publication that was loaded onto the cargo ship in Cochin when he was traveling to come to America. But look what he had for personal possessions. A dhoti, an umbrella, and a little briefcase. When I don't travel like this. But Prabhupada was streamlined. And what was he carrying? The message of Lord Chaitanya. With all faith, because what did he have? Nothing. But he had faith, he had the holy name, and he had the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and busied himself in providing us with the other cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're honoring our disciplic succession and all these other great personalities by glorifying the Bhagavatam appropriately and encouraging everyone to consider how you can have Srimad Bhagavatam in your home, or how you can make a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam to others. I was asked to speak on the topic of Bhadra Purnima, and I was happy to do so. I'm going to probably 2 more times before the 29th be speaking on the same topic, encouraging people to do this nice service of receiving and giving. So any comments or questions? That's the final slide. Your thoughts, appreciations, comments? Oh, yes.
Thank you for this wonderful class. You mentioned about faith, right?
Faith, I did.
So can you give us some advice on how to build that faith?
By associating with those that have faith. Sadhu Sangha. Right? Sangat sanjayate kama. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, it is true, you have a son. So you're concerned who your son associates with, because we take on qualities like those with whom we associate. He'll take on qualities, we all do. Sentient beings take on qualities like those with whom we associate. So associate with those that are faithful. And when you do, many things will happen. Like, you'll hear Krishna Katha. And you hear Krishna Katha from those who are faithful, your faith will increase. From those persons you can ask questions like Arjuna did. What about this? What about that? I have some doubt. How can I control my mind? It's more difficult than the raging wind to control the mind. How do I do that? He's agreeing. So by good association. And good association means many things. Primarily, Shravanam Kirtanam. And from the Shravanam Kirtanam, the cleansing. Oh, we have
I had a big question for you.
You have 3 questions.
No, one quick.
One quick question.
People say read and read. I don't need this. I know, yeah. It's right, direct feedback. Very quick.
You have a strong voice,
Yeah,
and I can walk closer to
you.
you.
I lost my voice a little bit recently. I used to have, because I was teaching for 40 years.
40 years?
Yes, okay.
You're a professor?
Like you, not like you, but somebody else.
Okay, okay,
Process, yes.
okay.
My quick question is, people say read and read and read until whatever.
till the cows come home.
Yeah, my thing is, if you read once and understand, is there a need for repeating and repeating the same thing many times? Because people say relative to equation, they say as many times as you read, you get more, effect or whatever. If you read once, you get this much. If you read 100 times, you get this much of, whatever value on that. I think I'm clear.
You're clear.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad you're clear. Well, let's just go to spiritual sound. I mean, because you've been a professor of some kind, teacher of some kind for 40 years. But then you can say what your realizations have come from teaching the same subject over and over again. You probably have expanded understandings and appreciations and different perspectives over the so many years doing the same thing. But spiritual sound. This is from Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, one of the verses is verse number 3. He gets a definition of yoga. And it's yoga practice is done every day for an extended period of time. That's your question. No, it is. That is your question. You're hearing it again and again.
No, not hearing. Reading and reading many times.
Okay, reading is another form of hearing.
Yeah, okay.
Whether you read it out loud or someone reads it to you, it's the principle is conveying. Let's do this. According to the Bhagavatam, because you're a professor, so I'm going to give you some scriptural authority behind my statements. Is that okay? It's not just fluff. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26. Sound, according to Kapila Dev's Sankhya philosophy, one of the three things that sound is it conveys the idea of something. Sound is within ether. Sound is the subtle form of ether, and sound conveys the idea of something. That's what sound is. It conveys the idea of something. So, I get an idea through sound, whether it's reading, sitting in a classroom, or having a conversation, or whatever it is. It's sound vibration in recorded or some other form, but it's sound that conveys the idea of something. Now, spiritual sound conveys the idea of transcendence. And it also gives an idea of things of this world, but things of this world are not understood properly unless it's from a transcendental source, or apaurushaya shabda. A sound that's coming from a purusha, a person that's not fallible. That's apaurushaya shabda, sound from a transcendental source. So if I want to understand about this table, or I want to understand about the soul, or I want to understand about Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, best to hear apaurushaya shabda, that kind of sound that conveys the idea of a thing. However, back to your question, supposing I'm covered, maybe you're not, but most of us are covered. And because we're covered, when we do some cleansing, the tendency is, I call it the bungee cord effect. The tendency is, because of years and years and lifetimes, and who can say how long we've been under the influence of the material energy, the tendency is to be back again under the material energy. So therefore Patanjali says, in addition to something that you do every day, it's something you do for an extended period of time. And then he also says, it's with faith, with conviction, this is going to get me to where I want to go. Now let's go back to your question. If you read or hear or recite or something again and again. If you understand it, why do you need to read it again and again or hear it again and again? Because of the residual tendency of having for so long, under the influence of false ego, being engaged in the material energy, identifying with it. Tendency is very strong. How do you get rid of tendency? Try to clean something that's stained. Clean it and scrub it, and still there's stain. Keep cleaning. Keep cleaning and cleaning. Because the soul, this is now spiritual sound, this spiritual sound cleanses the soul. I invite you, you have Srimad Bhagavatam in your home? Please take it in your home. Canto 3, listen, Canto 3, chapter 25, verse 33. 25:33. Kapila says, by the process of bhakti, hearing again and again, the coverings of the soul, the mind and false ego, the subtle body dissolves. The stain is gone. But it's not just by a one time. It's by bhakti. It's by engaging in service such that there's nothing else but that one thing. That takes a while. Why does it take a while, which is your question? It takes a while because of conditioned tendencies. Vasanas, the tendency to something. We all have them. And how do you go beyond tendencies? How do you go to who we really are? It takes purification. It takes again and again and again. The same sound, just like the mantra. How many times? Again and again.
I did a lot of research, and what you said, I cannot satisfy you, but I believe in that. Uttering, for example, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, whatever it is.
Yes, it is.
Whatever number of times, the sound, as you said, makes a lot of difference. Like mantra.
Yeah.
You do it 100,000 times. What happens there? You go into the peace.
You went to where? You go where?
The peaceful mind.
Peaceful mind. You go beyond peaceful mind.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. So
You go to who you really
I
are.
have to put namaskara because I did a lot of research on that. My conclusion was the sound has a lot of things to do, but in a proper way. The sound should be, uttered in a proper way.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what my belief. And thank you very, very much for your whatever help me to understand and confirm what I believe. Thank you.
Okay. Your thanks will be that you invite Srimad Bhagavatam into your home and then read it.
No, see, I said... Anyway, no, I get here.
Okay.
But here.
Maybe someone in the room will give you a gift. You don't have to...
No, it is in my pocket already.
Okay.
Yeah, it is in my pocket.
Okay.
Thank you once again.
Thanks for your nice question, Professor. A thoughtful question from a thoughtful person. Anything else? Okay, you're all convinced. So someone who's going to be the MC from this point forward? Someone's the MC? Someone's going to say, how... Someone should... I've been... before you take the microphone. I was in Houston about 2 weeks ago, the early part of this month. I was in Houston. And they did a little promotion about Srimad Bhagavatam and said, ask for... the MC, Chirag, is a nice man. He's been doing the MC in Houston ISKCON for a couple of decades at least. He turned on the heat. He said, I want to see some hands of who's going to volunteer to make a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam to somebody. Let me see a show of hands. Then he saw someone raise their hand. Temple president raised his hand. I'm going to make a gift to somebody, and so on and so on. And by the end of his turning on the heat on their feet, there were about 20 Bhagavatam sets, and these are people that have been around for a long time. The main kirtan leader, Madhavacharan, he raised his hand. I'll sponsor a set of Bhagavatams. So you're largely older generation people, just looking around the room. Some younger, but a number of older generation people. You understand all of what I'm saying. It's not new to you. It's it's in your heart already. It's just then take this message, just like when Srila Prabhupada came to America. How old was Prabhupada when he came to America? He nearly died just crossing the ocean. What to speak of everything else that happened? Difficulty and difficulty. Read the biography of his life. But he wanted to give. And he had nothing. But he wanted to give. And he gave. And he gave and gave. So all of you think about it. I'm not going to do what Chirag did. Let me see some show of hands and make you feel uncomfortable until you raise your hand because you're feeling too uncomfortable. But think about it. And it's a nice topic. And there's so many nice things to say. The intention of our founder Acharya was to transform at least the hearts of thoughtful people in this world, because when thoughtful people become transformed, then they can influence hundreds of other people to be transformed. His vision was to re-spiritualize the world, one man. And how are you going to do that? You have to have people helping you, but you also have to have a pure message to transform hearts. He did that in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, so you all do your part, receive it and read it and then give its message to others. Okay. MC. You have something? You're going to raise your hand? You're going to volunteer for a set of Srimad Bhagavatam?
We will donate them.
Huh?
We'll give.
You'll give.
We'll
You'll
give.
give to this gentleman.
Whoa! Round of applause. Well, what a wonderful opportunity for you all to get a set of Srimad Bhagavatam, give to your friends and family. A round of applause for His Holiness Ramapad Swami Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj, for coming here and giving a wonderful class. So, are we having kirtan? We can have a short kirtan. Maharaj will be distributing Mahaprasad now. And after that we'll have a short kirtan, and the best part, the delicious feast is ready. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.